Zara arrived in the kitchen, and Kofi's mother handed her a bag of food items to prepare a pot of stew for them to eat. Stew? Zara widened her eyes in shock as she looked at the bag on the counter. I've never cooked before. What should I do? She asked herself as she panicked and began to empty the bag on the kitchen counter. Going through the ingredients, Zara wondered what she was going to do with them. She could not believe that Kofi's mother was making her cook on her first visit to her house. Is this a test to know if I am good enough for her son? She thought to herself as sweat began to pour down her face like a fountain. It cannot be that bad, Zara said to herself, as she threw all the ingredients into the pot, including whole peppers and onions, and filled the pot with water. She then brought the pot to a boil, hoping and praying for the stew to come out right. She tried calling Kofi, but his line seemed not to connect. Zara paced from one end of the kitchen to another, trying to figure out a way out of the house to run away. She pushed on the kitchen door leading outside the house, but noticed that it was locked. She tried going out through the kitchen window, but it was too small for her to fit through. Stuck in the kitchen, Zara watched as the pot came to a boil. After a few minutes, Kofi's mother came into the kitchen to check up on the food. She opened the pot and screamed out in terror. What is this? She asked Zara, who told her that it was her own special way of preparing the stew. Leave my kitchen this minute, she screamed at Zara, who not only ran out of the kitchen but left the house entirely for her life. A few minutes later, Kofi returned to his mother's house and met his mother fuming in anger. Is everything okay, mother? He asked, as his mother took him to the kitchen to show him the pot of stew that Zara made for them to eat. Kofi burst out in laughter as he saw all the ingredients floating in the pot, including whole peppers and onions, which were not even chopped or blended. Mama, why would you tell her to cook for you? He asked his mother, who said that she only wanted to see how good Zara was in the kitchen. Now you have seen it, Mama. I hope you are happy, Kofi said, as he continued to laugh hysterically. Is it that her mother never bothered to teach her how to cook? She asked Kofi, who revealed to her that Zara was an orphan who never got to meet her parents. You can't marry her, Kofi's mother said with finality, as she crossed her arms. Kofi, hearing the seriousness in his mother's voice, stopped laughing and looked at his mother. Mama, cooking skills don't define a person's worth or their capacity to be a good partner. Zara is a wonderful woman, and I love her for who she is and not for her cooking, Kofi replied to his mother, who said that her decision was not based on Zara's inability to cook, but on the fact that she was an orphan who didn't know her roots. How can you even think of marrying an orphan who was possibly abandoned by her own mother and father? Do you know why they abandoned her, or the situation surrounding her birth and family? Why would you take in an abandoned property as a wife? She asked Kofi, who could not believe how insensitive his mother was towards Zara. Mother, why would you victimize a victim for a situation they had no control over? He asked his mother, who told him that she did not care, and that all she cared about was the fact that her son would never marry an abandoned orphan. Kofi, you can't marry her, and that is final, she said as she left his presence in anger. Kofi stood there confused, as he had never seen his mother so serious in his entire life. He got into his car, angrily, and drove to Zara's house. When he arrived, he met Zara in the pool of her own tears. She felt so ashamed of herself and didn't know what to do. I made a fool out of myself, Zara said to Kofi, who hugged and assured her that everything would be fine. How will I ever face your mother again? She asked Kofi, who told her not to worry about his mother because he was the one interested in marrying her. Zara was comforted by Kofi's words, as she apologized for ruining their day. Oh no, you didn't ruin anything. It is better they found out this way so that they know that I am marrying you for who you are and not for what you can do. Zara's heart was glad as she thanked Kofi for loving her despite all her flaws. The next day, Kofi sat with his friend in a bar and discussed all that had happened in his mother's house the previous day. Kofi sought his friend's advice, as he didn't know how to go about his mother's demands. Kofi's friend, Kwesi, took a sip of his drink and thought for a moment before speaking. Kofi, you know your mother loves you and wants the best for you, Kwesi said. But sometimes, parents can be too focused on traditions and status. Zara is a good woman, and it's clear you love her. You need to make your stand clear to your mother, but also be respectful. I know, Kwesi, Kofi replied. It's just hard to see her so upset to hear the terrible things she said about Zara. I never expected her to be so against our relationship because Zara is an orphan. Kwesi leaned in, offering a piece of advice. Maybe you should try talking to your mother again, calmly. Explain to her why Zara means so much to you, and how her status as an orphan doesn't define her character. If your mother sees how serious you are about Zara, she might come around. But be prepared that it might take time. Encouraged by Kwesi's words, Kofi decided to give it another shot. The following day, he went to his mother's house, determined to have a heart-to-heart conversation with her. "Mama," Kofi began, standing next to his mother in the living room. "I understand your concerns, Mama, and I respect your opinions. But Zara is a part of my life now, and I love her deeply. Being an orphan doesn't change the fact that she's a kind, caring, and intelligent person. She's faced many challenges in life, but that only makes her stronger. I need you to see her for who she is, not where she comes from," Kofi said to his mother, who insisted that she had a bad feeling about Zara. "Something is not just right," she said to Kofi, as she explained that her intuitions are never wrong. "You are my only son, and I will not let you go into anything blindly, without knowing what you are getting yourself into. There is something off about that girl that I cannot place my finger on. Why don't you just find another girl and marry? She is not the only girl around," Kofi's mother said to Kofi, who told her that he was deeply in love with Zara and was not willing to marry another. He pleaded with his mother to see reasons with him, and his mother, although tempted to accept his decision, found herself troubled. "No, I will not let it happen," she said sternly, as she warned Kofi to stay away from Zara. Kofi, fuming in anger, threatened his mother, saying that either she allows him to marry Zara or she loses him forever. "What do you mean by that, Kofi?" his mother asked, as Kofi told his mother that she should either allow him to marry Zara or prepare for his funeral. Kofi then walked out on his mother, who sat in her chair, confused. "What should I do now?" she thought to herself. Kofi was her only son, and she could not stand anything happening to him. So, she decided to pay Zara a visit to warn her to stay away from her son. The next evening, she arrived at Zara's house, and Zara was so shocked to see Kofi's mother in her house. "Good evening, Mama," Zara said, as she welcomed her into her home. "I am not here to beat about the bush. I am here to tell you to leave my son alone. Kofi is my only son, and if you really love him and want the best for him, then you would leave him and find another man to love. There are thousands of men out there. Find another man to love you and leave my son alone," Kofi's mother said to Zara, who could not hold back her tears. "Mama, why do you hate me so much? What have I done?" Zara asked, as tears poured from her eyes. Kofi's mother told Zara that all she was doing was protect her son from an unknown fate. She told Zara to leave her son alone as she walked out of her house and headed home. Zara fell to the ground broken. She could not understand why her life had to be so complicated. All her life, she had yearned for love, but when love finally comes, something happens to deprive her of the love. Zara sat there sad and deep in her own thoughts that she didn't even notice when Kofi walked into her house. "Zara, is everything alright?" Kofi asked as Zara jerked back to reality. "I am fine. I was just thinking about all that had been happening." Kofi interrupted Zara as he knelt down to the ground and asked her to be his wife. Zara could not hold back her excitement.